Hi, everyone. Welcome back to part 2 of our conversation with our amazing speaker on the Do the Change podcast. We're going to jump right back into the conversation. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube and follow us on Spotify and Instagram at Do the Change Podcast.
I think it's really cool. Like I really like your mentorship insights because it sounds like something that was like that made you really uncomfortable when you first started. But like as people say, leaving your comfort zone is what lets you learn the most. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, that's so true.
I wanted to ask you about your work in the Biosphere Initiative. So like I wanted to ask like how you actually got involved with that. Were you initially interested in air pollution, or was it just kind of like dipping your toes into a new field?
Right. So, um, Betsy, no, not the instructor, had posted on, I believe, the public health internships platform, internships and jobs platform Flex, which is available to all public health students. And then I had applied, and then I got the position. And the reason I was interested was because I was looking for something that would um, kind of look at where I could look at, obviously, like we're all kind of doing this public health, but look at a specific environmental pollutant, see how it impacts like marginalized communities. And I think that's kind of what drew me to the position, because I would have the opportunity to look at air pollution, which is just this huge, which is studied, but is also just hasn't been studied maybe enough in marginalized communities. And that's what kind of like drew me to the position in the first place. And I wanted to get that more like hands-on experience, which I saw was part of the description. And also the team was very flexible and said you can be as involved as you want, and that was like a green light to me. Um, I uh, I saw that as an opportunity to like, it could be a space where I could ask questions and I could help out with certain things, and so that was that was a really that was kind of what drew me to the position, I guess.
Awesome. Do you think it makes you more interested in working with air pollution sometime in the future, maybe?
Yeah, I would love to. I think what I learned is that I would love to work in kind of like the science communication space, which all science is like communication, but I I really do enjoy taking the summary, the results, and communicating it to the public. I think that's like where my head's at now. Um, and that's something that I also kind of realized from the project is I really enjoy like speaking with folks, and I really enjoy helping to like mentor and teach people. So that's all been a part of the journey. Yeah.
Wait, that's awesome. That's like that's kind of the best takeaway, right? When you can find out what you actually are most passionate about from a project.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's easier said than done.
Yeah, because like you have to sometimes do what you don't like to do to figure out what you do like. So that's been a huge takeaway for sure.
Science communication has been like a really hot topic in my previous episodes with other OEHS professionals.
Mm,
So it's really interesting that you bring it up.
yeah.
Um, how my previous conversations, have you mostly been with people who worked on the research side? So they're kind of preparing the things for others to communicate to the people. But
Mm.
like, what can people do? What kind of jobs can people get involved in, or like activities can people get involved in if they want to actually be on the side of science communication, of communicating it to the people?
Right. So I think there are a lot of ways to do it. You can be involved. I think that part of the you see, there's communication and then there's like action, right? And they kind of also go like hand in hand. So I see sort of like policy oriented jobs as science can be science communication too. Um, yeah, there's also kind of certain like consulting positions where you take the results from the research and then turn it into something like the public understands. Um, and then there's also science communication that happens in like community organizing spaces. And I think that that is a space I'm very interested in, and would love to kind of explore more. I have like a little bit of experience, but um, I think that helping to or being involved in like yeah, taking research from academia and communicating it to like folks who are trying to get action done in their communities is something that I'm really interested in, really passionate about. So that's a space I would like to inhabit, I think, in the future.
That's awesome. Wait, can you tell us more about that? Like, what does it actually entail? Like, what was your experience in the past?
Right. So it was both kind of academic and organizing, but I did an internship through the UC Berkeley Labor Summer Program, which was really awesome. And I think the reason I thought of it as more of an organizing experience was because we got placed in a job essentially for 8 weeks, and we were fully with that organization for the 8 weeks. So I was with SEIU 10 to 1, which is a Service Employees International Union, and I helped organize on campaigns that involved temporary workers or like Uber and Lyft drivers, for example. And then I also worked on a project or like on a campaign for early childhood educators and or organizing early childhood educators for fair pay and things like that. So I did a lot of interviewing for workers during that experience, and I think that that experience kind of helped me formed also, I don't know, formed my like certain desires to study certain things in grad school. But yeah, so that's an experience that I've had. And then I also have in undergrad, I was also part of the Students of Color Environmental Collective, and I think that I saw that a little bit as like an organizing space, just because we would talk about issues that were important to us and that like we thought people should organize around. And then I had like some organizing experience in high school as well. So yeah, that's always been something that's really important to me, and I think seeing that play out in, I don't know, in a different way, or like in an environmental health way is very important to me as well.
That's awesome. Does that kind of tie into what you mentioned in your bio that was like you're like using a social justice based approach to environmental health?
Yeah, exactly. I think that I see like science as a way to kind of communicate what I think that's what a lot of people see it in public health as, is like a way to help articulate the issues that people already know happened, or are happening, but want to help validate and understand in a clearer way so that we can problem solve, right? So that yeah, so that's kind of where I'm coming from.
That's awesome. Can you tell us more about like your like the social justice based approach?
Yeah, so I I think that I think it's like a frame of thinking of like, okay, so I want to go into this specific type of research because this they're working on this issue right now. So um I'm trying to give an example in like grad school, but
Mm-hmm.
one thing I want to do is like to like disseminate like the findings of my research, right? And like give it to folks so that they know they're exposed to X, Y, and Z, and that, they can do that. They can take the information and then um like use it to inform, their life and to help create policies that will um like benefit them and like help clean the environment. So yeah, I think that I don't have like much to say about that other than I think that's just my frame of thinking and how I approach academic research. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I feel like so far I've mostly learned about in my like personal experience with OEHS. I've mostly learned about the kind of sciencey academia side where people
Mhm.
are talking about the research topics that they like the most and like what brought them there, but not really the aspect of conveying it to the people and like
Yes.
having social like principles inserted into their communication of the science to the people.
Right.
So I think it's a cool aspect of the field.
Yeah, I think that I don't know. I'm very like grateful that like that exists because I think that there are a lot of people in public health who do care about those things and that's why they study them. And so Um, yeah, I realized that like another part of the example that like just I'm thinking of more examples of like maybe more of a social justice based approach was I took a law class, and we've talked a lot about how our academic research, a public health law class specifically, and how research needs to translate into policy. And like part of that is coalition building and like grassroots organizing. And so for me in that class, I had the opportunity to go on a trip with this semester with alongside Betsy, an industrial hygienist, and other folks on the team, ergonomists. And I got a chance to talk to poultry plant workers in North Carolina, and that was just a huge experience for me. And so taking away from that experience, I think that I used, first of all, that experience to help inform my writing for the public health law class. But I realized so many intersections between like labor and environmental health and occupational health that are just so vivid that you hear about, right? You like learn about a lot of these things in school, and then like it plays out in real life. And I think that I realized how important like research was, but also how important organizing was, and creating conditions for a safe workplace and a good workplace. A healthy workplace are very, very important. So I think that's part of like another approach of thinking that I have when it comes to research.
Mm-hmm. That's
Mhm.
awesome.
Thank
Do
you.
you have any like recommendations for like I guess undergrads or like people, high schoolers even, who are interested in getting involved in like the intersection of policymaking and environmental health?
Yeah, I mean, I think that one piece of advice that I have is that I think a lot of people just have an intuition about what an issue is, and because they have what is it called? Kind of like experiential knowledge, and they come from backgrounds same like as you and me, like what you were saying. And so um like leaning into that instead of away from it, I think is one thing that folks should do is study what you're passionate about, and study like if if for folks that want to go into the field, yeah, study what you're passionate about, and you will do great. Even if it doesn't feel like it, like you already are doing so well because you are kind of you're able to, how do I say this? Either whatever place you go into, that knowledge that you have learned from, I don't know, an institution like Berkeley, you can carry back to your community, and then also understand that learning happens there, right? So I guess, yeah, just like lean into what you're passionate about and don't doubt yourself, because like you're great, I guess.
That's so wholesome.
Thanks.
Do you have any? I feel like you're pretty knowledgeable about like the various classes that are offered in this field, right?
Yeah,
Do you have any recommendations for classes that these like undergrads could take?
right. So specifically for are you talking about specifically for environmental health or for?
Yeah, for people interested in getting into environmental health or
Yeah,
like policy making side, stuff like that.
yes. So I'm thinking a lot of the classes are like very theoretical that I kind of like drew from, or like they're more like abstracted and thought and not hands-on policy making courses. But like I said,
Mm-hmm.
race-based inequality was a good one. And then there was another class that I took um, that I can't remember the name of right now, but that I will look up just for a second. Um, let's just see what my courses are. Great thing about having continued school is I can just like look up all the previous courses that I've taken in my B courses.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so I took another class, performing race class in space in Oakland. That was a really important class for me. There was another class called, let's see it. An environmental justice class that I took, race, class, and equity, and the environment. And then food and the environment was a huge,
Ooh.
like a lovely class that I took. And I really hope they still offer it because you learn about food systems and you learn about, its intersection with the environment. And I think that also informs environmental health a lot. Econ and policy, an introduction to environmental economics and policy was also a very helpful class. And then this last class that I'm thinking of, I think that this is also offered to undergrads, but health implications of climate change.
Oh,
Very
that's pretty
good
topical.
class. Yeah, it's a very good class, and you get to learn, even for the final project, learn about a specific issue and present it. And I feel like that would be great for anybody that's looking in this field. Um, and then the last class I was thinking about was feminist environmental ethics. So yeah, which I loved as well. So I mostly listed undergrad classes, and I listed one grad class, which was health implications of climate change, that's available to folks. And then another class that I took as a grad, just not to trail, but international maternal and child health. And while that class isn't available to undergrads, Ndola Prata teaches an undergrad class. And I think that that's also a great way to learn. Yeah.
So
Which
you
is a
kind of
little
dipped your
outside of the realm of environmental health specifically, but I think informs the approach.
I see. So you kind of dipped your toes into all sorts of different topics within environmental health and outside of it. Was
Yes.
this like, what was your reasoning for doing so?
What was my reasoning? Well, I think no, that's a great question. I think that I just seeing how things intersect so much. When we study a specific issue, I think that I see how folks, like, very rightly so, like, hone in on their discipline and their skill set. And then there's sharing that happens after you've done the research, right? But I think that, like, my approach to schooling has been that I need to be able to understand a little bit about where other disciplines are coming from in order to dive deep into my own research. And so I think that that's kind of like informed my approach to like taking classes, because I'm like, I think I'm gonna need to know a little bit about this later, and I need to know where people are coming from when they talk about this discipline. So at least I'm familiar with the terms, and at least I'm familiar with the approach. And so that's kind of been my personal approach. But
This is a really interesting take, because me personally, I've always like I don't have that much experience in academia, right? But I always just thought in order to get further involved and like deeper into my field, I would just take more continuously like niche classes in my desired field. But I never would have thought that I like what you said earlier, where you said taking the classes with from surrounding topics lets you get to know your own topic better.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it.
How did you see that like happening like as you did this?
Yeah, I think I just realized kind of like the importance of, I don't know. Yeah, so to give the example of the law paper that I worked on and like the law class that I took, I realized that unless you have good research, like unless you have good researchers and unless you have good researchers and you have good community organizers and you can understand the power dynamics at play in this particular issue, and you can understand industry and their perspective, like you cannot solve probably the issue of like air pollution, like that all these communities experience. Like being able to, I guess, articulate and understand where each person in that involved in a specific issue is coming from, allows you to prioritize like what's the most important thing in this issue. And like for me, that was getting, reducing the exposure of people that are harmed by sources of ambient air pollution, and also like and other like unknown sources. So I think that that was an issue I thought a lot about, was like, or that was kind of like the way I thought about it. And in all of the stakeholders that are involved in this issue, like learning about each of them helps you prioritize like which one's the most important to you. And I think that's what I realized. Yeah.
I see. That's really interesting. I feel like I should be applying that to my own classes. So it's kind of like having a well-rounded knowledge about the issue that you're trying to target will make you better equipped to target this issue.
Exactly. And I think that I'm learning a lot from you and what you're saying too, because there is something to taking a lot of classes. And I think that's something I haven't done as much, but taking a lot of courses in something and deepening your knowledge in that specific field is so valuable too. And people just experience life differently, you know, like um when I say like people experience life differently, I just mean like they have different approaches too. And I think that there are people that are needed that need to focus on this a specific thing and develop that like knowledge and skill set. I just am not sure that right now I'm one of them. So
yeah. Now that you mentioned it, I think it might have to do with like my personality, I guess. I think I'm prone to tunnel visioning.
Oh.
So like of course I would think of getting deeper into a topic as like getting into super niche classes about that topic.
Yeah.
But I guess both approaches are valuable to a field.
Yeah, I'm learning from you too. Yeah.
Thanks. Okay, let me pivot real quick. Like one last question, or not last question, but one question I wanted to make sure I got in was I wanted to ask you, what's like a piece of advice that you wish someone had given you when you were starting your journey in like the professional field or just like in environmental health specifically?
I think to see yourself as a professional already, even though it feels like maybe you're not, and you just have to do the thing that you want to do. And the more you do it, the better you'll get at it. So I think that's general advice I have, but it can be intimidating to be in an environment of people who are experts in their field. But they're not looking down on you. They're not judging you for not being at their level. They know that it took years. It probably took them years to get where they are, right? And so being able to just continue to ask questions and get help where you need it is probably the most valuable skill that you can learn. And yeah, lean on like the expertise and knowledge around you, but also know that you have expertise and you are also already professional in the field.
I love that. So this is just for like new professionals to any field. Yeah. Wow. How about environmental health specifically?
Yeah, so I think that for environmental health, kind of, I think you have to embodying kind of like that approach. I think you really should like lean on other disciplines too to inform like your own research. And environmental health is so broad, like you're focusing on exposures from both from chemical exposures to like the actual environment, like built roads and highways and things like that. So it's so broad and like understanding that, and then going into like your own field, I guess just know that you have a space there too. So I guess that's the best answer that I could give for environmental health specifically. But yeah, you should, if you're passionate about that specific thing, go for it because there are many things to study and they're definitely not all studied. So
Oh, I like that.
yeah.
Okay, let me see. Is there anything that you missed saying earlier that you want to make sure you get in?
I don't think so. I think you've covered it.
Thanks to you. I was like, I have questions ready at like my disposal, but you were answering them all as you were going like so fluidly.
Can I just say, I also don't know if we're like still recording, but even if we're still recording, it's fine. You have a great like podcast voice. I think that you're doing a great job.
Wow, that's like the most top tier personality, or not personality,
Yes.
top tier compliment ever.
Yes,
Podcast voice. Thank you.
Yeah, you're doing great. I always think about like NPR, like those other, I don't know, those like it's so hard. I was like, how do they do that? It's difficult, but you're doing a great job.
Thank you. Wow, I've never had my voice compared to NPR before, but it feels nice. Okay, in that case, any last things?
I don't think so. I think that we've covered it. And I'm very happy that you've had me on the podcast. And you're doing great, so keep doing it. And I've learned a lot too. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I haven't had someone tell me they learned from me.
Oh,
I loved having you. I really enjoyed talking to you. I also learned a lot from, especially about like the policy making aspect.
yeah, definitely. I'm glad.
Good luck with all your future endeavors.
Thank
I
you.
hope wish you have good rest before you start your next project mission.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
For sure. Okay. I will maybe talk to you again in the future. Thank you, Rezahn.
Sure. Yeah, don't hesitate to reach out. And you can always email me. And yeah, just feel free to reach out whenever, honestly. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Well, have a good rest of your day.
Yeah, you too. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.